I really don't know this person. I'm not sure why he's here.
I was
or who let him in.
I was stalking in the background. So I saw people walking into a bright room. I said, yeah, I want to be on there.
Follow the light.
Carrie Ann. Was it Mary Ann? I can't remember.
Who?
Carrie Ann from Follow the Light. What was that? Poltergeist, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't watch scary movies.
Oh, see, come on.
Life is terrifying enough.
True.
Without adding terror to my life. Like, I have very strict rules, Tony. Like, I don't need more suspense in my life. I don't need more scariness in my life. Like, for entertainment, I just want to be entertained.
Got you.
So, which kind of sucks for me because, like, I'm trying to put out something here that makes people think and get engaged. But what if people are done thinking by the time they get to this podcast?
I will tell you this. I am that kind of person as well. I like more sci-fi, yes. Things that just
absolutely
are most likely not to be facts. Because you're right. We do have too much to constantly think about, and like, the new M. Night Shyamalan movie is pretty dope, though.
Oh, see, I haven't done a lot of movies lately. Got into The Last of Us on HBO.
You know what?
Post-apocalyptic.
I saw that, and I was like, no, I can't do another series.
Oh, my series are very limited. Like, I binge, I conquer, and then I've moved on.
Congratulations on the binging.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very proud of it. All right, so I get to run. So this is a different dynamic for us a little bit because I get to run this and like get to ask you questions.
Yeah. That takes a lot of control away from me, which I don't know how nervous that's supposed to make me, but
I'm so scared. So we just end up in the corner crying. We know why.
Balled up in a circle corner.
Well, I feel like, since I have you here, and this was kind of your brainchild, right?
Yeah,
like
a little
bit. So I always enjoyed coming on the podcast. I had so much fun filling in while you guys were all out and about. Like, that was just a blast. And so, so that was kind of the progression. And you were like, hey, Sarah.
Well,
you want your show?
It kind of like, it naturally happens so well, I think, because of your personality.
I have a stellar personality.
100%, not to pat yourself too hard on the back. But, and it helped open up doors for other people in their education. As I've always stated, this is supposed to be an educational network, and Friends for Life was just the catalyst to start it. I'm a team player when it comes to like anything in life. And if I find someone else can be a better leader in another spot, especially when it comes to team building, I want to do it. And I think this was the perfect alley-oop because you've now started a new career. You're
changed it all up.
Yeah, you're doing a whole lot of new stuff. I mean, it's still in what we do, but it just felt right. Like, I think you need to tell your story and incorporate the circles that you are in instead of me just barging in all of them. Because when you go...
Anytime. You're always welcome. Yeah. No, so I think I'm really excited about it, though. Like, I'm super pumped about it. I actually, you'll be proud, because Tony's been like, you've been like, Sarah, got some guests yet? You got some people on the list? And I'm like, I swear I'm doing it. And I got like 3 today, so we're booking them. But I'm super excited about it. I'm always so grateful. I think that's like one of my favorite things about you is just like, even before I knew you very well, like, we were in these meetings together and you're just like, guys, what are we doing? How are we working together? And I'm just like, yes, why is not every person like this? And so I think for me, I was just like, oh, that's so cool. and I think like even like before, because when I was like an SSA, right, I would work with your company. I'd be like, we got to get Tony on this. Like, so I think that it's just a really cool, like, I mean, I just value your friendship so much, but like, I think it is a cool progression because I feel like, those like minds, like, because that's who we are as people, right? We're like, okay, we see a need, we're going to meet it. We're going to, pursue the dreams, go after it. But yeah, so I'm just, thanks.
Well, you are more than welcome. And, that means a lot. And I would say even to your viewers, validation for people sometimes is needed. When you're so focus driven, sometimes you don't take that time for yourself to recognize your accountabilities. And I mean, your accomplishments, because we're so busy worrying about taking accountability for things.
Yes.
And
speak the whole thing. Go ahead.
No, but that's, I fear not finishing something that I started. It might it might not end the exact way that I wanted it to, but if I don't do everything that I can, just like if we're doing something for an individual in the ISP, maybe it went 3-4 years and we didn't accomplish that goal. Well, maybe we just need to take a look at that goal and maybe break it down into smaller segments so we can make it functionable or doable. It's not leaving it completely off the table.
Right.
So I have a special brain when it comes to that kind of stuff.
It's an amazing brain. But okay, so this just is so relevant actually to my life right now and like what you said, because I've worked in the system a long time and I've really been struggling lately with the finger pointing, right?
Yeah.
Well, legislators aren't doing this, the state isn't doing that, this provider isn't doing, this person's not doing, like everyone's just like so quick to be like, this is all. And like, I'm super, like when you said like people who are passionate and like zealous about stuff do take account, right? They take accountability because I'm passionate about this. I want to do it right.
Yes.
I want to do right by the people we support. And then just like when you said that, I'm just like, oh, shoot. Because like, I'm very well aware that I'm like something extra. Like, but I seriously, like I can sit in meetings, I can testify before a committee, and literally say like, this is what I care about. This is my life. This is my life's work. And it's important to me. And it's important to me that I take the ownership for things that I need to take ownership for.
Yes.
But also, there's equal ownership in this. Like we are a team. And so we can't all be like, the school team projects where one person, like I was always the person who was like, oh, I want this done right, so I'm going to do it. But we don't have that option all the time, right? We have to work as teams.
Right.
And so just that like, I think that's true. Like what you said, like the greater amount of passion you have, like you don't always hear, like I hear the bad stuff, right? Like I'm like, oh, I got to fix it. I got to fix that. And then someone will come and say something and be like, oh, that really just meant a lot to me and you're like, I did that? What? Because you're not, you want to accomplish a lot. You want to do a good job. And so like all those negatives like really like get under your skin.
Yes.
And then you're just like, oh, am I just screwing up life? Like, am I just ruining everything? Like, there's so much introspection that I feel like goes into that.
I even like to break it down to the thought, think of the ISP meetings or any kind of group team building meetings that you might go into. The person who's most likely the angriest to be there is probably not going to contribute very much.
Yep.
That's typically how it goes. And I've always, ever since I was young, I was built up on a characteristic of you take the hardest thing and you learn to love it. It's like a David Goggins type of mindset. And I remember I played football in junior high. And everybody would complain about doing bear crawls. Like they hated it. And we had to do like 200-300 yards worth. And I remember my coach saying, if you learn to love it, it'll never be hard. And so I would tell myself, I love this. I love it. I love it. And it helped carry me through. Now, did it make the time go quicker? No. But it gave me mental fortitude to continue pushing. But back to rewind, when it comes to these teams, I think sometimes we lose how much power each person can contribute to that. I think so many people get scared of quote unquote leadership because they think it's somebody just telling them what to do versus your brain reorganizing something and you being a contribution to the team. And if you follow that route, most likely the team is going to love you for it.
Right.
It's like, whoa, we never thought of it that way. And that's one of the things and one of the reasons why I love pronouncing myself as a DSP before anything, because the DSPs are the ones that can give us the answers that we're not even looking for on an executive level. You know, our biggest gripe and stuff right now is probably pay, and it's not always working conditions, because each individual you serve, there's different working conditions.
Yeah.
It's not always the company, because every company is going to have different people. But if we are in it for the individual, and we are coming together and giving everybody a tool to be able to grow their brains, because if somebody comes and says something ignorant to me, to the point, well, why don't we just put them in a straitjacket? Well, here's the rule that says we shouldn't do
First, here's the legalities.
You know? And it's not saying that it was a bad idea, because this individual is 2-on-1 and he has broken 2 people's bones and punched someone in the eye.
Yeah.
I get why you're saying what you're saying.
Understand the perspective.
Yes, but we have to look at it logistically. Same way when it comes to finances. You know, it is what it is. And if we learn and from an executive standpoint, if we're educating, the rest of it will come.
Yeah.
You know, and I think on both sides, we need to be open to it.
Yeah, I definitely think, and I think that, I know I talk about Peter Block all the time, but I love him. But he does like, he's not necessarily like a leadership expert, right? But he's an expert on cultivating community.
There you go.
And when I think of like any leadership experience I've had, it's about how do we facilitate, how do we let community grow, how do we do all these things, and how do we support people in that, and having the confidence, right?
Right.
Your voice matters. Does it mean you're going to get your way every single time? Nope. You know, but you don't have, but your voice matters, and we need all the different, you're going to edit that for me?
Blooper.
But we need all these different perspectives and views, because your lived experience is different than my lived experience, which is different from another person's lived experience. So that's this whole idea, and I feel like not to diss leadership books.
No.
But I feel like if we stopped trying, if we started to try and cultivate a better community of the people who are around us, our teammates, the people we work with, like, and in this system, there's not a single person off limits that you might work with. Like,
correct.
Different, backgrounds, different cultures, like there's so many differences with this, uniting disability label. And so I think for me, like, anything that I've really found value in as far as like leadership books or this or that is just, how do I cultivate community, and how do I empower others? To feel part of it. Yeah. Because I feel like so much of our stuff, it just feels like an outsider perspective. Well, I can't be a part of that.
Right.
Because I'm not on this team or that team, or I'm not this or that. But in essence, it really just takes everyone working together. Yeah. Just like a well-oiled machine.
It's interesting that you say that, because I definitely see that. And like, my barrier at one point, it was college. Everyone used to always say how great I was with the individuals, how I could, light up a room. I could work with any type of disability and be fine with it. But they wanted me to go to school. They wanted me to go to college for it. And not to diss college, because there are definitely people who can grow in a community like that, going back to community. But that was not the best for me. Right. And I kind of felt devalued behind the fact, like, well, you're great, but without this piece of paper, my guy, guess what? You're not going to make this kind of money. You're not going to have this kind of role. You're going to pretty much stay here. And I felt like I needed to flip the script on that. Like, it wasn't fair for my individuals and I guess my coworkers at the time. Like, I think we all, again, felt as if the community portion of this was not really there, and to what you are saying, that is changing, you know, and that is a point of a lot of contention for a lot of people, is because if you don't feel a part of the community, eventually you're going to move from the community.
Yeah, you're going to go find a place you feel a part of.
Exactly. Well, maybe some people. I've known people who just like fight.
My community is actually over here by myself.
Yeah. Solo
and
dolo.
I will not be joining you. I know. Even the most extreme introverts need community. There's my blurb.
That is a very awesome way to put it. I mean, community is the long running, and I guess that's why I've done so much for mine. Like, I will go out and yell and scream at the kids in my neighborhood for cursing too much, but then I will also sit there and play football with them for an hour.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to tell them clean up around the neighborhood, but then when the ice cream truck comes by, everybody gets some ice cream.
Right.
You know, it's creating those values and showing that we can all be separate but equal in a sense.
Yeah.
So.
No, and I think that that's really just important, you know, like, you know, and he has like one thing, like we recognize gifts, and we see a lot. It always really strikes me, like if you look at like the Ohio ISP and you look at a lot of our person-centered trainings and stuff like that, there's so much in there that has this direct correlation. And it's like, wait, was someone hip to this? But then we have to make it a form, right? We have to check this box and check that box, and it loses its power.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but how do you teach that to people? I've been doing a lot of speaking lately on just how will we be? And that's from a Peter Block quote. How will we be when we're together? And like, how are you going to be? Because you can be having the worst day, but I still need you, right?
Yeah.
Like, I still need what you bring to the table, and I still need that vulnerability and that openness and all these things. And I think that in our minds, we have this really big need to just like, oh, I have to be like, I'm not saying like, just go be a professional all the time. Like, you know, please do not pick your nose at the table, like whatever.
Yeah.
But like, we have this image that we think we need to upkeep, but it's actually so much more powerful when you can be vulnerable and say like, look, I'm just going to be honest. I want to bring my best self. I'm not having the best day, but I'm still trying to bring my best self. But please be patient with me because I feel a little crabby.
Yeah.
But, you know, like just to be able to have those conversations. And I think there's so much pressure put on people to perform in certain situations. And sometimes you just have to be human.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like communication.
Yeah.
And what I've learned and seen a lot of, there's a lot of omittance in our communication skills with each other's. Like, if you're not telling me that there's a problem, if I'm asking you, hey, Sarah, is there a problem? And you say no. So are you sure?
So fine. I'm
so happy. You know, and it takes me 3 or 4 times to get to that. Like, where is the middle ground? Like, now you're lying to me by omittance, and you're not even giving me an opportunity to help fix the scenario. And, you know, this can go for many different levels of community and growth and what we do. But for team purposes, we have to be a little more open to ourselves. You know, I will tell people in a meeting, yeah, my mom used drugs, so I understand what the dynamic is in this household where this individual stays, because this individual's mom uses drugs. Yeah. And we have to take those experiences and kind of, I guess, open up the blinds. Yeah. You know, be a little vulnerable. Let people know your background and what it, like, I've heard so many statements in regards to my financial life that, wow, you weren't there when I was driving the bucket beat up car and having to get out on the opposite side because my driver's door didn't work. Yep. And then people, SSAs walking out with me and we're talking and conversing, and I'm like embarrassed that, like, man, I'm about to go to this car and I gotta get in on the other side, but they're walking me directly to my door. Like, oh, I left something inside. Oh, I got it. You go ahead. You go ahead. I just realized, and there's, what is that? Oh man, there's a training that the Lucas County Board of DD does, and I think. Oh, the Good Life. It was either the Good Life. It's something towards that nature. Yeah. But it opens up the eyes of minority living, and I don't expect you to understand exactly where I come from and vice versa. We are different species in a lot of ways. You like how I use species?
Different species.
But I mean, we're just so different in a lot of ways, but a lot of our characteristics have not only have us grow into a great friendship, but awesome collaborators because we have been vulnerable with each other. And I just want that more in our field. Like, let's give people a little more than what the outside is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think there's like so much to say about that too. And just like, you know, like people never know the full story. And so like when and I think Brene Brown writes a lot about this, but that the human mind just fills in blanks. And it fills in blanks based on the knowledge we have and what's easiest to grab at the minute, at the moment. Like I'm trying to figure something out. Oh, this sounds right. Bye. And then we just accept it as fact.
Yep.
And here we are walking around accepting all this bullshit as fact. Sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Who made that? But then to just kind of be aware, because I feel like there's so many times that like I just don't check my, you know, like check yourself before you wreck yourself. You know, like just like, oh, I'll blurt something out like this person, blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, so it'll be like, well, and I'm like, well, now I feel like a jackass.
I've definitely been through those conversations with folks. I collaborate with a lot of people, and some people, others are not very keen on. And I think a lot of times it's personality conflict versus actually having a problem with this person.
Right.
Because for one, I don't like to associate with myself with just idiots. And I use that term in the sense of not to put down anyone who has an intellectual delay or might not comprehend something right away. But if you have been running into the same wall consistently.
Are you talking like a 90s, 2000s terminology here?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
You know, so I don't want to make it seem as if some people can't grow. It's just we have to understand how much we are responsible for that.
Yeah.
Are we giving them the correct information? Are we trying to be more ourselves? I think one of the best ways to grow is to show.
Yeah.
And there's no room for half-assing it. I really think when it comes to your personal life and your personal growth, you know, I've always had the thought, even for Friends for Life and for anything that I push to do, it's going to not only make my life stand out, it's going to help someone else as well.
Yeah.
Which goes back to community and team.
Oh, look at that. So good.
Yes.
This is why we're hosts.
Yes. The host with the most.
I should never do a hair flip ever.
You got to get some of that Beyonce long hair.
I know. I don't have that going. Becky with the hair. I don't know. That's a Beyonce thing, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Why am I looking at him? Off-screen Paul. Oh, so okay. So you've had a lot of changes.
Yes.
Let's get some nitty-gritty stuff.
Let's go.
You've had a lot of changes. Started Friends for Life. Doing great things. Got into some more, what's the word? Networking, like a network, actually.
Yes.
You're creating a network. Okay. So in doing that, you had to focus, you know, you got your dream up off the ground, and then you get another vision, because that's accurate, right? Like, you know, we got this going, okay, where's my next challenge? Well, we got to keep growing and showing. I feel like that could be taken really out of context.
That is the purpose of the show, is to have everything taken out of context.
Just have Paul do like a total like inappropriate thing said, like blooper edition. Could lose 1 million followers.
Well, right.
Have to gain 1 million followers first. But okay, so that means shifting your vision a little bit.
Yes.
How's that working?
Oh my goodness. There's not a single day that I don't wake up excited for the next challenge of it. But it is not as easy as I think our minds make things out to be.
Oh, yeah.
You know, typically we look at things at like from growth or conception to immediate growth to this end product.
Right.
And when it's not moving at that speed, reality hits you. You know, you start to really look like, whoa, I was full steam ahead at one point. I still remember when Paul and I, we ran into a roadblock on guests. You know, we ran into roadblocks on conversations. It was just kind of, we were drained at constantly trying to think of all of these different ways to do stuff, learning the uglier side of, you know, the social media world and stuff. And it definitely put something on my plate that I needed, because I do feel as humans, we get into this safe place and our brains are hardwired to be that way. That's why you do get people who will stay in the same position, and the minute that they try something new, they feel, you know what, that was too tough. The lesson that I learned from not making it was too hard. Let me go back to what I know. I tell this story a lot. One of my biggest rewinds, if I ever lost the job, I said, I just go back to Burger King. I know how to make a Whopper still. And that was my default. Now, granted, I could of course do other things, but that was the little mind game of safety for me. So for me to be a better person, and not everyone's like this, I measure my success in life in every 5 years. I need to see substantial growth in 5 years of my life. And so far, I hold true to it.
This is why we are friends, though, because I have the 2-year rule.
Okay.
I have a 2-year, well, career-wise, I have a 2-year rule. Maybe personal life, we'll give it a 20-year rule.
And look, 20 years is, I think, a perfect way to judge long-term. 2 years is right up the alley of actually being able to study the data on whether or not you are making successful goals and meeting those challenges. So once I saw how my team was able to be dynamic enough that I could step away from like the day-to-days as tough, having to make so many of the tougher decisions, I was like, oh yeah, to the wall.
Let's go.
It's time to do this. And, you know, I guess I don't know how, I'm not a huge religious person, but I am spiritual.
Yeah.
I have my faith in what I believe God has sent for me. And it's very important that I change people's lives for the better. And I think this platform and the shows and stuff that we are creating are really, really, it's taking it to another level. So with all of that, I just want to say for you, I'm so happy.
Happy too. So excited.
Yeah, this is going to be not only a thing, it's going to be a great thing. Your words are going to be more than inspiration. They're going to be growth inspired, community driven, and teamwork approved.
Yeah.
So on camera,
excited. All right.
Thank you. And y'all tune in. Tell all your friends.